In today's video, I had the privilege of traveling to California and collaborating with one of the top growing tennis YouTubers, Kevin Liang. If you're not familiar with Kevin, he's a growing YouTuber who posts a lot about his journey going from a 4.58 UTR to a 5.0 10 UTR. He's got a lot of good content, so you should go check it out. I'll leave a link down below in the description. Let me paint this picture for you. Kevin and I have been planning this collaboration for a few months now, and as we're getting closer to the date, the one weekend that I'm planning to visit, it's raining. So we did the only sensible thing that anyone would do in this situation. We started driving south, but just south enough to escape the storm.
You can't see anything though. What an experience.
Our plan was to hopefully find a court before we hit St. Louis Obispo. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly. Sorry if I didn't. And film some content. That way we weren't just having a trip full of nothing. We drove a total of 3 hours south from San Francisco, making stops at Monterey and going as far down as Greenfield, California. And every tennis court we found was either locked or absolutely unplayable.
All right, so, well, this video's gotta start somewhere. So, look who I'm with. We have driven now 3 hours, right? 3 hours-ish?
Yeah, you've driven 3 hours.
Okay, thought we found a nice court, and this is pretty much what we have to work with. Yeah. So, I guess,
I mean, if you really think about it, like, we could jump the fence, and then we could just, like, pull something up, you know? If you really... What do you...
now it's time to hit the road again.
At this point, we pretty much gave up on our journey of heading south. We decided to turn around and try out one more town on our way back up, Hollister, California, hoping that the weather had not gone this far inland. And you guessed it, wet. Now at this point, we had spent about 5 hours in the car, we were tired, and we were giving up all hope and decided to head back to San Francisco.
We have just driven around the entire day in California and done absolutely nothing. And if that's the case, we have a plan B. No, we don't. We don't. Let's just hope this works.
And on our way back, someone in Kevin's group chat mentioned that there was a location where the courts were drying. So in our last ditch effort to get some content, we hurried to the courts and this happened.
And just like that, guys, we actually found a court that we can use all the way back in San Francisco. So let that be a lesson. Don't drive and travel for content. We just spent all day driving just to end up back at square one where Kevin does all his videos. So, well, at least now we get to hit.
And so our video finally begins.
Then I'm just gonna go and try to take care of business, try to work on a few things that I've been drilling with Gabe, like on the forehand, trying to be a little more aggressive. I went back to adding a little bit more weight to the, oh, you can see that, to the top of my racket on both sides. So that's also another thing I'm adjusting to. The balls are kind of floating, but I don't know if that's because I've been sitting around all day and I'm just not able to get enough acceleration on the ball. My eyes aren't tracking it the best. It's super dark out here. There's definitely a lot of variables. I think I'm just gonna do my best to put everything together, focus on my game, focus on playing against Kevin, and then try to help him out from there. So let's get going.
Hey everyone, Kevin Shea here. I wanted to do something a little bit different with this video because I know Kevin will be posting the match clips with commentary on his channel. So if you're interested in the full match play and point play, I'll leave a link down below for you to check it out. But for my video, I wanted to do an informative one on how to climb to the ranks of 5.0 as a 4.5. And look, I'm not saying that I have the secret formula, but here's what I've noticed when I played 4.5s and when I've helped 4.5s improve to 5.0. I'd like to note that this is also for 4.5 singles and not doubles. And in this particular video, I'll be sharing thoughts that I have specific to Kevin, and hopefully some of these ideas help you all watching back home. Generally, 4.5s are great ball strikers. They move well, and they understand how to place the ball. They generally get fixated on what they want to do to play well versus what they need to do to beat their opponent. And as we all know, tennis is a mental sport, and if you're fixated on yourself the whole time, it is very, very difficult to beat the person standing across from you. You have to have tactics. This first game is a perfect example. Kevin and I are both battling conditions. My eyes are still adjusting. I've been driving around all day, and as you can tell, behind the baseline of my side is still wet. And during Kevin's first service game, he gets into a ton of game point situations, but ended up double faulting a lot of them away. His thought was that he wanted to force the point in his favor, and honestly, it's not the worst idea, but if you notice that I'm not returning well off the bat and you're double faulting your game points away to me, you need to focus on placing your first serve in, at least starting the point, forcing me to make a play instead of just giving me the point back. Here's another example of tactics from my side. I noticed that Kevin generally has a flatter backhand, or it's always a low driving backhand. He doesn't roll it well. So every time I get a low short ball, I would always chip and charge towards his backhand, focusing on just keeping the ball low, knowing that he would have to hit up on it. Knowing that Kevin has a flatter backhand, if he hits this ball flat and it stays low on him, the ball has to come up over the net, making my first volley easier. Or if he does try to keep it low, chances are he's gonna miss it into the net. It's basically a win-win situation for me. In short, I'm challenging Kevin to hit an uncomfortable shot. Another example was when I got to play on the drier side. My main focus was to hit short angles, forcing Kevin to have to move uncomfortably. I wanted to take advantage of the drier side as much as possible. I wasn't too worried about winning games on the wet side. If I did, great. If I didn't, that's okay, because my goal was to try to get the next 2 games on the drier side before having to switch back. And when I told Kevin all of this, he was lost because he's never really thought like that on court. And I don't blame him. It's much easier when you're playing to think about your own adjustments and yourself, because that's what you feel like you can constantly control. But that brings me to my next point: flexibility and adjustments. Who is the GOAT of tennis? I'm sure most of us are gonna say Roger Federer, but why was Roger Federer so good at tennis? It's basically because he was the most versatile tennis player. He could beat you from the baseline, he could beat you at the net, he could completely change the pace on you when you weren't expecting it, and just completely keep you on your toes. Federer had multiple game plans that fit his skill sets. Now, this is something that I noticed 4-5s lack. I'm not saying that everyone should have to develop an all-around game style, but you have to have multiple ideas of what you're willing to try when your plan A isn't working. In my match against Kevin, in the first set, Kevin was trying to force a ton of points in his favor, especially when he went down a couple of games. But because of that, it led to a lot more mistakes, and therefore he was losing his rhythm. But in the second set, he made an adjustment and became a lot more consistent, which is great. Except all he did at that point was put the ball in play, which still allowed me to dictate the point. Kevin became way too passive. What should Kevin have done differently? So after the match, I told Kevin that it was the right adjustment. It was just too passive of an adjustment. Instead of just telling yourself to put the ball in play, why couldn't you have chosen to put the ball more in play towards my backhand, towards my weak side? Like I said, 4-5s are great ball strikers, so I know this is a possible tactic for Kevin to produce. And Kevin's response was that he was so concerned with how much he was missing that he just wanted to extend the points regardless of what he did. Once again, not a wrong way of thinking. It's a step in the correct direction, except at the end of the day, that tactic will do nothing to affect me on the other side. And this is not meant to be an insult to Kevin or any of the 4-5s out there, but this line of thinking does not work at the upper level. It really only works at the lower level. There just has to be a lot more depth into your thought process. At the end of the match, I asked Kevin a very important question. It was, how was he winning points? And after a lot of thought, he told me that basically he had to force really good shots out of himself, or it was because I would make a mistake, which are correct. There are very few points in this match where Kevin set up well and constructed well. When we look at the ways Kevin was winning points, we have he was forcing good shots and he was hoping I would miss, neither of which are sustainable strategies, especially at the 5-0 level, right? You can't just hope somebody is going to miss. In short, there were 2 things that I told Kevin he needs to focus on to achieve the 10 UTR level. First, he needs to have more behavioral awareness when playing a match. What do I mean by this? A lot of times during pressure points, Kevin would go for a big first serve, trying to get out of trouble, but then he would miss the serve, therefore putting himself in a second serve situation, and majority of the time he would end up double faulting or losing the point. Kevin also doesn't use his breaks and time wisely in between points and changeovers. I told him those were the perfect times to come up with tactics to reevaluate and reassess what's going on court. If you're sticking with plan A and you're going down 0-3, what can you tweak to hopefully twist the tides, right? Because at that point, plan A is not working. And Kevin mentioned to me that oftentimes he's using those moments to critique how he's playing. Like I mentioned in the beginning, that's so tough because then you're putting a lot of pressure and stress onto yourself, and instead use those times to calm yourself down and then figure out how you're going to construct the next point. And the second thing that Kevin needed to work on was learning how to develop tactics and strategies to win points. Like I said, Kevin is already a really good ball striker. Although he has minor hitches he can fix, I personally think it's more important that he spends his time developing an identity on court, because he can't simply just go out there and blindly hitting balls and not understanding why he's hitting them. He has to be able to pick up on his opponent's bad habits. He has to pick up on his opponent's weak side. What does his opponent like to do? What does he not like to do? And what is Kevin doing well on that day that can combat his opponent? Kevin has a lot of strengths. He has a heavy forehand, and he has really good movement and really good speed. So he has to start to develop strategies around that to his advantage. Our final score was 6-1, 6-1. All in all, I'm very confident that Kevin can achieve his goal of a 10 UTR. I'm extremely glad that we were able to reconnect and collaborate through tennis on YouTube, and I'm hoping to do more of these with him in the future. I hope everyone back home watching enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like and comment down below. What else do you think Kevin should focus on to get to a 10 UTR? And if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. It's free. And you know, if you don't like my content in the future, you can always unsubscribe later. And don't forget, if you're looking for the full match play, that'll be over on Kevin's channel. I'll leave a link down below in the description. You can watch us battle all the tough conditions. Take it easy, everyone, and I'll hope to see you in the next one. Peace.
Tough conditions out here, super tough actually. At the end, there's like this crazy drizzle that actually just slicked up the entire court. On that side, the light went out on like the last two games, and just made seeing the ball very difficult here, when originally this side had the advantage. It's really good to actually play Kevin because, well, we're about to go to dinner and I'm gonna give him pretty much like a digest on a few things. We were talking earlier this trip, a few things that he needs to work on. Even, especially now after playing him, I'm just gonna reinforce it, honestly. Kevin hits really good balls, but he doesn't know like exactly what he's doing with it. So I'm gonna share that with him. I don't know, how do you feel?
It was good. It was fun. It was good to get out here and play. I think towards the end, like things started clicking a little bit better for me.
Yeah.
I felt a little bit confused in the beginning. I need to take time to think about what I'm doing to get our point.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Hopefully we can play again tomorrow, or
yeah, that'll be good.
Yeah, hopefully we play again tomorrow before I leave. We're gonna go get some food. It's been a long day. Glad we got a full match in. Weather held up a little bit. Cool. We'll see you guys in the next one. Yep. Peace. Surprise! We are here doing a collaboration. Finally getting on court after a long 6-hour driving day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Driving, man.
Yeah.